The one thing no one ever warned me about was just how intense after pains can be. I've had 4 children. They were bad after my first, but I presumed that they were extremely painful because I'd also had the forceps delivery. So I assumed that once the bruising started to go down and the stitches healed a bit, that they wouldn't be quite as bad. But actually, while breastfeeding, they could be really intense and they could really floor me. I was offered some pain relief. I was told I could take ibuprofen. But I also have always had digestive difficulties. So I find ibuprofen actually makes it will affect my stomach. So I tend to avoid it wherever I can anyway. And I didn't want to take anything because I was breastfeeding. So it was something I had to deal with. I wish I'd taken a hot water bottle with me into hospital, because once I got home, I found a hot water bottle was the one thing that would soothe them. My uterus used to cramp really, really intensely after birth, and most of the midwives have remarked on how quickly it's gone back into place. But in hindsight, I have a retroverted uterus as well, and have had since my first birth. It went so far that it went right the way back. And then afterwards, a lot of those after pains with subsequent births were felt in my back. And there wasn't quite as much notice taken of them when I said that I was experiencing a lot of back pain. The pain I think I experienced during breastfeeding was the worst. That can make the cramps really, really intense. But after my first baby, obviously you've learned a lot of tricks. And I found that if I sat actually cross-legged, like they make you sit in school on the carpet, and if I sat in that position on the sofa whilst I was feeding, I could rock backwards and forwards slightly. And that's always been one of my ways of dealing with pain anyway. And the baby loved it. What baby doesn't love being rocked? I was warned after I'd mentioned them with my first that they will get worse with every pregnancy, and they did. They seriously did. I think it's also really important that if they are really bad and you're concerned, that you seek advice, because they still shouldn't be intense after 10 days. And I know with myself, and it was with my fourth child, I put the pain down to the after pains, when in fact what it was a really nasty UTI. And in the end, it made me really quite poorly because I'd left it too long. And it took quite a lot of repeated antibiotic treatment to clear it up. So if the cramping is intense when you're not feeding, or it goes on for a long time, it can be a sign of infection. So it's really important that if you've got a raised temperature as well, or there is something concerning you, that you actually go and consult either your midwife or your GP.